Good afternoon, everyone. This is the regular meeting of the Board of E&A, Wednesday, May 15th, 2 p.m. Would you like to call the roll?
Mayor Coulson?
I'm here.
Councilor Rooney here. President Reed?
Here.
Great. Items presented for the first time. Number 1, 19.073. Request from the Comptroller's Office for approval of contracts and leases for various city departments as listed on Exhibit A. Number 2, 19.074. Request from the Comptroller's Office for approval of intra-departmental and interdepartmental transfers from various city departments as listed on Exhibit B. Number 3, 19.075. Request from the Comptroller's Office for approval of transfers between projects for capital improvement funds listed on Exhibit C. Number 4, 19.076. Request from the Comptroller's Office Deputy Comptroller for permission to overspend accounts as needed to meet the city's financial obligations for the remainder of the fiscal year. Number 5, 19.077. Request from the Comptroller's Office Deputy Comptroller Finance and Development for approval of Board Bill 24. This ordinance authorizes the issuance of 2019 tax and revenue anticipation notes not to exceed $65 million. Number 6, 19.078, request from the Comptroller's Office for approval of annual reports of vehicle allowances and mileage reimbursements for fiscal years 2012 through 2018. Number 7, 19.079, request from the Comptroller's Office for approval to transfer and encumber $244,913 for legal expenses in the Office of the Circuit Attorney. Number 8, 19.080, request from the Director of Airports for approval of Board Bill number 28. This ordinance authorizes the assignment and assumption of interest in dual customs agreement and consent of the City of St. Louis with Binational Gateway Terminal LLC and Brownsville International Air Cargo, Inc. Number 9, 19.081, request from the Director of Airports for approval of Board Bill 29. This ordinance authorizes a consent to change in ownership and control of structure of Binational Gateway Terminal LLC. Number 10, request from the Circuit Attorney to allow and authorize the expenditure of $35,000 per ordinance 70916 and subsequent memorandum of understanding with the U.S. Attorney's Office, Eastern District of Missouri, which provides for cross-jurisdiction of gun-related cases in the City of St. Louis. And number 11, 19.083, request from the City Councilor for approval to compensate for a special counsel as a sole source contract to advise the city in matters pertaining to St. Louis Agency on Training and Employment, SLATE, and the St. Louis Local Workforce Development Board not to exceed $50,000 in fiscal 19 and $25,000 in fiscal 20.
Move for adoption of items 1 through 11.
Second.
I'd like to take up, at least for discussion, item 7 separately.
Okay, I move for adoption of items 1 through 6 and 8 through 11.
Second.
All in favor of adopting items 1 through 6 and 8 through 11?
Aye.
Aye. And now we have a motion for item number 7.
And I move for adoption of item number 7 for discussion purposes.
Second.
Okay, item number 7 for discussion purposes. Item number 7 is a request to transfer $244,000. Previously, these amounts have been in the Circuit Attorney's office budget, and they've been primarily under salaries, and then also some under computers per performance, FICA, health, and pension. And $224,000 of this amount is being transferred to legal services, and $20,000 being transferred to public health and safety. And as I understand it, this is for the Circuit Attorney has 5, I believe is what's been reported in the paper, 5 law firms that she's utilizing in order to fight the search warrant that's been issued for some documents. This would bring, if you look at the her budget, the circuit attorney's budget, if we did this transfer, it would bring the total transferred into legal services to $357,000 for this year. And then in professional services, there's $426,000 for a total of $785,000. I know that there's this ongoing litigation. Unfortunately, this is just a whole lot of money, which I think we could use doing other things, and I just hate to see this kind of money expended to fight a search warrant. And then, of course, we're also paying money for the courts on this, which brings the amount just for legal services alone to well over $500,000. Probably $600,000 or so for legal services, and another $400 and some thousand for professional services. Very difficult situation to have to spend that kind of money. And it's coming out of, primarily out of the salaries line item in the circuit attorney's budget. Which means, of course, that, you don't have those folks to do the work in the circuit attorney's office.
Yeah. I would second all of the comments you just made. This is becoming a very, very expensive endeavor for the city, and on both ends, we look at the total cost to the city of St. Louis. I don't know if you have the number, if anybody has the total cost, but the price tag is really going through the roof on this thing. And at roughly probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $500 an hour or something like that is what the attorneys are billing at. It's getting, I think, more and more difficult to be able to justify to the taxpayers this sort of expenditure just continuing to go on with no foreseeable, no real true foreseeable end until grand jury or somebody else comes back. Right up until that point, we're in this fight between releasing of information and issuing opinions to try to stop that release of information. Which is why I'm having a particularly difficult time with it today. But again, I'm open to any recommendations. Like we've had conversations with the circuit attorney's office, so we I think I have a decent feel about where they stand on the need for the 244 today. So with that, I don't know if there's any other comments.
So I don't know, we had a motion for discussion.
Yeah, I made a motion for discussion first.
No,
So.
it was for approval for discussion, which follows the motion and the second, then we discuss.
Yeah, and I'm not clear where the other two members of the board of ENA stands on this issue today. I know part of it is a timing issue, so that when we come to the end of the fiscal year, there's a timing issue to ensure that they do have an opportunity to utilize these funds and be able to transfer them into an account to be able to be, used for the intended purpose, and that's for legal defense. So one of the recommendations I would make is that if we take this up today, I would say we can cut this number in half and go with 122. Today, that would give them $30,000, roughly $30,000 a week for the next 4 weeks, to be able to expand on legal defense. In the next 4 weeks, we'll have a better feel for where things stand in terms of any other movement in the courts. And we've done our part to at least give them an opportunity to defend them, to give the circuit attorney an opportunity to defend them. The other option we have that we could do today is just hold it open, but I'm not sure on, because of the judge's ruling in terms of expenditure. But we're probably only have like 4 or 5 days left on that, so we would run out, that clock would run out before we get back to be able to discuss it further, right? So I think those are the various different options I think we have in front of us. And we, just in complete disclosure, we did bring that up to their office in terms of being able to cut that number in half to a more reasonable number. I can't speak for them, but I can say that they did not seem to have a problem with that.
Well, I think, most folks, when they get a search warrant, they believe they have to comply with it. And I know that this is a legal battle among 5 law firms on the circuit attorney's side, and I don't know how many on the other side of this. But this is definitely an unfortunate expenditure of taxpayer money, a lot of money. And we are right now under a restraining order, which would prevent us from paying. It says restrain from expending any taxpayer granted revenues for payment of expenses related to invoices or bills submitted by these law firms. And that is, a hearing on this is set for 9:30 a.m. This Friday, the 17th. So there would be some ability to deal with this after that hearing. What the accounting records that I have show is that there's $133,000 already in the legal fees account, of which $75,000 has been spent. So there's 50-some thousand dollars that's still available to spend for money that we've already transferred into legal. So.
Since our last transfer, how much has been spent since our last transfer? A month ago?
I don't have access to that number. What the year-to-date actual that we believe this has been spent $75,000. You guys would know that.
They would be in our records, of course.
Yeah, well, Todd points out that, there's already $133,000 in legal services, of which $75,000 has been spent. And there's $426,000 in the budget for professional services, of which it looks like about $298,000 has been spent. So the combination is there's, 50-some thousand left in legal to be spent and $30,000 left in professional services. So there are
About 100, anywhere between 170, 180,000. That's still
right. That's still there that could be spent. I would presume, because it's in the budget and hasn't been spent yet. So there's 100-some thousand that's still 180-some thousand that still has not been spent. So I just really am wondering if that 180,000 that's still available, do we really need to transfer an additional $224,000 $400,000 today.
Well, according to generally accepted accounting principles, encumbrance would make a difference between whether we recognize or not something that could possibly become a liability or an expenditure. I am not asking here today what the circuit attorney requested. She requested an appropriation in her letter to E&A. Recognizing the timing, it's too late for special appropriation. So an encumbrance says that we recognize that there is a legal issue for a certain amount and it's being played out in the courts. I have no control of what's going to play out. But you guys have the opportunity today to either acknowledge generally accepted accounting principles or not. And that's my discussion point that I want to make.
So I am not aware of, so that means that what is left to be spent is $180,000 that we already have in the budget plus $224. So that's an additional $400,000 to be spent between now and the end of the year.
And encumbrance, once again, anticipates recognition. Recognition in an accounting term means we have knowledge of. We have knowledge of the contracts, whether you got the knowledge from the Post-Dispatch or whether you have knowledge from letters sent from the city councilor. There are contracts. I don't have any invoices. We've not received an invoice, and I'm assuming that because the circuit attorney has a TRO, that she's not sent us any bills. So I don't know. I do know that we have a figure here that did come from estimate of the transfers. And in recognition, and as the chief fiscal officer, I have to recognize that we could be paying some bills. And that's simple to me. I'm not a lawyer, but I am the CFO of this city. And so in due process of carrying out my job as comptroller of the city, the fact that I would revert funds back would not make that much sense if I know that there's a possibility of owing. In case where those dollars don't show up as being owed, of course, every accountant CPA knows, encumbrance do what? The money goes back.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's my point.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, I guess, go into the weeds as I've been hearing here in terms of, cutting it or slicing it or dicing it. There's going to be an estimate. We have it in front of us. And I'm not a lawyer and I'm not a judge. The judge shall rule. And we have to be prepared. There's money's being spent on both sides. Tax dollars for those who have appointed a special prosecutor, the city's paying. And I haven't heard a question here at this table. The other side, of course, is the circuit attorney. And that's been thoroughly discussed. That's what I'm hearing. I haven't discussed it. I'm only talking about the accounting issue that I face, is how to recognize. I don't have a request from the courts to encumber or to give a special appropriation because the court has legally taken care of that. Whatever they spend, we shall pay. So if the special prosecutor's account grows to $2 million, we shall pay it. Right now, we're just talking about $240,000 that I'm not asking for to pay. I'm just simply saying recognition, and I shall do that, I guess, with this board's approval or not, because that's the accounting principle that I have to follow, or I would be in default doing my job, period. So I would call for the vote in this case, in this matter, unless there's more discussion.
I have a couple points. First, by dividing it, we would have a greater opportunity just due to the time frame to see how it's unfolding. So the next, 4 weeks before, at our next E&A meeting, we could, again, do another $122,000 transfer. Um, you know, just like when we did the original $80,000 transfer, right?
Mr. President, it appears that you didn't understand that I didn't really want to get into the weeds. If you're saying that you're not able to vote in favor of this today, you can say that. I'll just gladly pull it. I can pull this item. This item was requested by the Comptroller's Office. And if you and Madam Mayor is not comfortable with this, I shall make a motion that I will pull this item.
Well, that doesn't help your case, though.
Well,
know,
you want
'cause-
to deal with the weeds, and I've asked you
No,
to
not the-
understand that I don't.
No, not really deal with the weeds, but I think you know, the voters all elected us to ask simple questions, and I'm just asking a very simple question. And I'm sorry if that offends you, I don't mean to offend
What
you,
is
but
offending is that you haven't responded to my comments. And you consistently talk about something about dividing a figure in half. And I'm simply saying that an encumbrance is not paying a bill. It's simply an acknowledging that we could possibly have them. We haven't seen any legal bills.
Yeah, but that same logic would dictate that we need to transfer $2 million today, because we have no idea what the top is.
We have the transfers to tell us the estimate. And that is giving me enough reason to believe that there could be. I know that you're not an accountant, but I don't know what kind of experience you
I'm a
have in
mathematician,
the area.
so I
But you
understand
have a
that very
CPA
well.
sitting next to you. I have one sitting next to me. And in my text, recognition is a very important word for accountants. We have to recognize when to book any kind of expenditure, any kind of revenue. In this case, we are well aware that there could possibly be a liability or an expenditure for the city of St. Louis. And we have evidence, which is a paper trail in the county, paper trail, that says this is what it might be.
So, how do you come up with $244,913?
From the circuit attorney's office.
And the circuit attorney did that based on what?
You need to ask the circuit attorney. You just said
I
earlier you were in
did.
conversations with her.
And
So, Mr. President, I'll make a motion
No,
that we,
Madam
that the controller would,
Madam
I
Comptroller,
don't want to get into
trying
a,
to find a way to answer your question.
I didn't ask you any questions.
What-
I did not ask you not one question. You
Like I
asked
said,
me
we had that
questions that the
discussion.
circuit attorney
We
should
had that
answer.
discussion with the circuit attorney's office earlier. They didn't have any problem with the 122. If we give them the 244, they would be happy with that. If we gave them 400,000, they would be happy with that. If you ask them, what do you need absolutely right now, and this is the question we asked, they didn't have they never came back and said, well, we could not make it on that. That's not what they said, right? So, you know, again, you know, I think it's important that we, and like I said earlier, you know, I said on both sides, I'm speaking to, you know, the expenses on the, that we're paying for the special prosecutor. I think that that's an issue. I think also on this side, circuit attorneys, the money that we're expending on the circuit attorneys' legal defense, I think that's an issue. And when you look at both of them, I don't know that this is, all of this whole spectacle, I don't know that all of this is a good expenditure of taxpayer money. Not with all of the major issues we have right outside of the store. Now, you know, and at the same time, I think it would be unfair for us to tie their hands and not give them the opportunity to do their job. I know that within their office, she has several attorneys working on this within the office. She has numerous law firms working outside the office on this, and that's all expensive. So, you know, that's kind of where I'm at on it. And so I think it's, you know, I think it's important that we assure that she has the ability to properly represent herself, right? You know, in the courts, especially since the city's funding this special prosecutor at the same time. So what is that number, all right? And how long is this gonna go on? And nobody at this table has a crystal ball to say how long this is gonna go on for the next 60 days. It could go on for the next 6 months. You know, it will be a continual funding thing for us if we continue to have it go on. But the point is, how much do we need to do today? We know that there's somewhere in the neighborhood of, what, 100 and...
There's $186,000 right now left in the budget for legal fees and professional services, the combined line items. So there's $186,000 available right now. You know, personally, I think that ought to get, that's a lot of legal fees right there, $186,000. So maybe we should, you know, take this up. You know, I guess the question is, do you need 5 law firms? If you only have a certain amount in the budget, then, you know, maybe you can streamline that. I would personally be in favor of holding off until, I mean, if the 186,000 is gone through, well, then maybe we come back.
So if we, all right, so if we hold off, would you be willing to, if we find out that, you know, 186 is going through, would you be willing to come back for a special meeting to take up this matter?
Of course.
So that, okay.
Yeah, I would be happy to come back for a special meeting if this is important. You know, if they need more than
If
180.
it's important, we would act today, but since you guys are not willing to accept a recommendation from the chief fiscal officer of this city, and unless you want to vote on the issue on the table, then I will pull this issue. This was a courtesy anyway to have in front of you today, because the circuit attorney addressed the Board of E&A. She didn't address the comptroller only. But by charter, the comptroller is the chief fiscal officer and shall be the accountant for the city of St. Louis, not the president of the board nor the mayor.
Yeah, I don't want to do the accounting. That's absolutely your
I
responsibility.
make a motion that we would pull item 7 from today's agenda.
I think there's another motion that's on the table in front of that.
Well, I call for the vote.
So, do you,
So
you want to leave your motion on the table? And, or,
I want to just make sure that we're all clear. So, the motion that we just had was for discussion purposes. We're done with discussion. Mayor would like to just hold it over and said he would be okay with a special meeting to
I'm always
address it.
okay with that.
To
I have a
address
conference
this.
and I'm unavailable. It is getting towards our year end and I am not available for a special meeting. I'm just not. So I just want to be clear. Sometimes we have availability and sometimes we don't. In my schedule, I don't see that I have availability.
Could probably do it on a telephone call if we needed to.
Yeah, but yeah, we've done that in the past. And this would be a 5-minute deal.
So are we gonna, can I
Let's
call
do
for
it.
the vote on item 7?
I have the floor, so you have to wait until I relinquish the floor to do it. But I'm gonna wrap up. I promise you I'm gonna wrap up. So we can hold a special meeting once we get the rest of the information and ensure that she does have the funds that she requires to properly defend herself or properly represent herself in this case.
Yeah, I mean, I think, what I'd like to see is, okay, there's $186,000 available right now, and if it's going to be more than $186,000 before the end of this fiscal year, then it would be good to have from the circuit attorney's office, well, what do they think the total is?
All right.
But I'll just say, unequivocally, if we need to have a special meeting for this issue or any other meeting, I'll make myself available.
And there's not any appetite from anybody to cut this in half today. Rather just,
I'm not opposed to doing that. That would mean that we'd be saying 186 plus 122, that would be, then there'd be over 300,000 available. That's a lot of money, but I'm not,
all right, so I withdraw my motion for Scott.
I'll a second.
okay.
I move that I remove item 7 from the agenda.
I'll second that. All in favor of removing item 7 from the agenda?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn this session.